This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, ministers, for being here. Through you, Madam Chair, to Minister Joly, you've talked tough. You've talked tough with your Beijing counterpart, so you say. You even stared into his eyes. I'm sure he was very intimidated. And now we learned today, or yesterday in the Globe and Mail very conveniently, that a visa was denied of a diplomat who wanted to work at the Canadian Beijing embassy. One visa? Is that it? One visa? How many visas have been denied? Just one?
So I won't comment on your question, and particularly the beginning, because I think it's actually
Madam,
the tone.
I'm going to pause time. I'm pausing time. I'm pausing time. Our approach here is very important. So I would just say be mindful. Mr. Cooper, earlier one of your colleagues had said we want to make sure how much time we speak, the response is given. You spoke for 43 seconds. The minister will be given close to the same time. You are at 10 seconds already done. Minister.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Cooper, you would know China because you went to China as a parliamentarian in the past. And so, therefore, I think you would understand that when we fall into too much partisanship, we're falling into China's trap, which is trying to sow division in many democracies.
How many visas of Beijing diplomats have been denied? Is it just one? How many?
I can give you under my watch. What I can tell you is that there was a visa that was not granted back this fall.
And so one. Okay, thank you for answering that. One visa denied under your watch. Minutes ago...
I just wanted to...
No, it's my time.
No, but just...
Madam Chair, my time is limited, and I'm going to ask
for
my
you to
question.
understand.
Minister, okay, pause.
I just want to make sure that we all understand
Minister
that it's
Joly.
a diplomatic visa. So it is a diplomatic visa. Obviously, we have visas for the Chinese community.
My question was prefaced on how many diplomatic visas. One. You've answered that question. You said moments ago that Beijing's Ambassador Kong has been summoned on many occasions. It's true that the ambassador has been summoned with respect to the balloon incident, with respect to illegal police stations, but not on election interference. Why?
We've summoned the ambassador on many, many subjects, including foreign interference of all sorts, including within our democracy.
On election interference? Yes or no?
Like I said, yes.
When?
And maybe Jenny, you can add to that because the department would know, of course.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to add that Ambassador Tong, diplomatic representations were made to Ambassador Tong by senior officials at GAC on February 24th.
With respect to interference in the 2019 and 21 elections?
Based on yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Madam Minister, it's been more than 6 months since we learned of illegal police stations operating in Canada by Beijing. We just learned in the last 24 hours that there are 2 operating in Montreal, one in Brossard, one in Montreal, within 30 minutes of your riding. And yet 6 months later, election interference, illegal police stations, tough talk, but not a single diplomat expelled. Why not?
So when it comes to police stations, the RCMP has confirmed that they have been closed. And so my colleague, Minister of Public Safety, has also given a lot of information on that aspect before. Of course, we will not tolerate any form of foreign interference, including police stations. I've been having many conversations with my colleagues around the world on this issue, particularly Tony Blinken again last week. And we will work within the Five Eyes to identify any form of foreign interference, including
one visa denied, not a single diplomat expelled, hardly the actions of a government that takes Beijing's interference seriously. Minister, when you last appeared before this committee on December 13th, you said repeatedly, unequivocally, that you had no information about Beijing's interference in the 2019 and 21 elections. How is it that the Globe and Mail and Global News have information based on their review of CSIS documents about significant interference by Beijing in the 2019 and 21 elections, but you, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, know nothing? How is that possible?
Well, when it comes to activities of foreign actors in the country, the Foreign Affairs Minister was not made aware. And since then, I've made sure that that changed, that would not be the case, because obviously, as everybody around this table would be aware,
You've
it
asked
is
to
important.
be brief. You didn't know anything in December.
Can I just finish my sentence, please, Michael? So obviously, in the context, as colleagues around this table would agree, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, I need to make sure that I have access to that information in order to conduct our diplomatic relationships in a good way, in Canadians' interest.
I just want to say, as a woman politician, I remember at the very beginning of my career being asked if I was tough enough to do the job. And I think it's absolutely devastating that that sort of frame of reference would be used in this way. I believe a minister has a position of power, regardless of gender or identity, and that should be respected. And I'm sure that internationally it is. And I think it's shameful that that was even said in this place. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate Ms. Blaney for pointing it out, but I have a point of order in regards to the conduct of Mr. Cooper and his comments. I think any woman sitting around this room, I'm sure men can appreciate it and understand it too. The constant demeaning nature that only occurs to our female minister that appeared today. Yesterday, it was another member of our team asking a question in QP, and a Conservative member said she deserved a participation medal. Today, it was a question of whether this minister is tough enough. Every single day, we sit in this House as women, and we hear these, they're called microaggressions, but they don't feel very micro, to continuously be undermined. And I think he owes this committee and the minister in particular an apology. And I am really sick and tired of sitting in here having to listen to it. I am sick and tired of Canadians having to see it. And I'm really sick and tired of the Conservatives just not getting it.
I want to know if that member opposite, when then Prime Minister Stephen Harper confronted Vladimir Putin and said, get out of Ukraine, did that member opposite say, was he tough enough? That was completely unacceptable. Unacceptable behavior for every woman that has ever taken her place in this House. And I demand an apology under Standing Order 18.
And just like my colleague, Ms. O'Connell said, this smacks of microaggressions. But when you are the victim, it's much, much, much more than a microaggression. It is a macroaggression. And I hope that he'll be decent enough to make an apology, especially the very day after International Women's Day to boot.
I thank you for that. I will just remind all members that, especially when we're having, and it shouldn't be cool if it's not in public, we should just be mindful as to the work that we're doing. Yeah, there's a lot of things around this place that make me puke in my mouth often, so it's really unfortunate. We can be better than this, so I'll leave it at that. And if anybody wants to act on the comments, we can figure that out later.